This video is for those with genital herpes. I'm going to be discussing how I tested negative for HSV1 after having it since I was a child. I won't go into much about the virus itself here. There's plenty of videos on that. I'll just reference that the HSV1 is the mouth cold sores, the HSV2 is genital herpes. About half the population has the former, and over a third now or so have the latter. The latter is a threat to anyone who is sexually active with new partners, so it should concern you greatly if you are single. Viruses can affect us in ways that go beyond breakouts, including affecting our unborn children. So it's important humanity puts effort into getting rid of it, and I hope my info will help towards that end. The establishment insists there is, quote, no cure. But what that actually means compared to the reality are two different things that most of the population doesn't understand. The word cure is basically owned by the FDA. So if I do something that resolved my symptoms and eliminated the virus from test results, I might say I, quote, cured myself. But I can't say I can cure you. What I can say instead is that I can show you what I did to produce a negative test result when it used to be positive, and I can tell you I was able to obtain total symptom relief. In other words, when the FDA says there is no cure, they often mean something along the lines of, we cannot or will not approve of any drug that a company produces to destroy this virus in your body. If we will not, it's that we choose not to because sales of the medication to, quote, treat instead of, quote, cure this condition are very high. Our approval process is very financially rewarding, and repeat sales of a pill will support the economy. We can use pills to treat you for a much longer time, much longer. So the first thing to show you is the testimonial I referenced. I will have a link below to John's video over at OK Raw and his sit-down discussion with a woman who ate 2 to 3 cloves of garlic and some coconut oil to begin to achieve symptom relief, and oregano oil, cilantro for heavy metals, among some other items. I will have timestamps that are approximate, it's a long video, that will reference the oregano oil tactic and a company that claims to have a cure. Oregano oil needs to be diluted. It is very powerful. My idea is to couple it with DMSO when applying it to the spine to get that penetration. This is something I would definitely do, having experimented with DMSO over 10 years ago with colloidal silver, which is another combo I definitely try. The colloidal silver I use, Results RNA, is the only one worth using. I would use it topically at the base of the spine with DMSO. I can't express enough, the Results RNA silver is by far the best. Back in the day I was experimenting with probably, literally a dozen to 2 dozen different silvers. They were all worthless compared to what this silver does. I never or rarely hear about people trying colloidal silver for this. This stuff is a miracle, and it changed my life. It would definitely be a go-to for me. Then there's the Bob Beck protocol of blood electrification. This is what resolved my HSV1 and was tried before I discovered the colloidal silver I reference. The blood electrification, completely eliminated it from my body after several months of regular use. And I did not use the pulsar technology with it. You'll have to research that yourself within the Bob Beck protocol to understand what I'm talking about. That part of the protocol is designed to get into the nerves, and there's an issue with a lot of viruses and herpes when it comes to where they hide themselves in the nerve sheaths. So I would think using that part of the protocol in conjunction with the rest of it would only increase the chances of success when used at the base of the spine for the HSV2. I personally would definitely also add in my favorite zeolite, which will also grab viruses, heavy metals, and other junk in the body similar to and probably better than cilantro. I'm also going to mention in passing the Rife technology. I used to have a Rife machine. This was again about 10 to 15 years ago that I experimented with briefly. I had 2 friends that had genital herpes, and they tried the herpes setting on this Rife machine, they had huge flare-ups, huge Herpes effect here. So it scared the crap out of them, and they discontinued using it, which is kind of unfortunate because it would have been interesting to see, based on the reaction it caused, if it could have actually wiped out the herpes for them. But that's something else you can look into. Another thing to be aware of when it comes to herxing and flare-ups is the consumption of meat. There are proteins in meat and animal products that will tend to incite the herpes virus. So just be conscious of that and how much meat you're consuming, or products like whey protein supplements and things like that. Another important side note, the testing now for herpes has changed. I'll provide a link below this video from the Mayo Clinic covering this important new change in how herpes is detected, so be sure to check that out. Another thing, as is the theme with my channel, it's important to clean up your diet and be on some kind of detoxing avenue program that suits you. It's absolutely vital to help your body get the results. So the information I just covered is the solutions that I would try, that I would have a tremendous amount of confidence in. That stuff said, I wanted to expand on this a little bit and to discuss why I'm so interested in this topic, besides the fact that it's a kind of human crisis that I think we all need to pay attention to. I'll never forget the stories I've heard in the past about the celebrities likely infected but never talk about it. People like Hugh Hefner, he's of course passed on now, or especially Gene Simmons of Kiss. I was reading the Peter Criss autobiography, which by the way is the funniest of the 4 autobiographies from the guys from Kiss, where he talked about how Gene Simmons, a man who has notoriously had sex with, I guess something like over 2,000 women, having a massive herpes outbreak before a concert, to the point where a doctor had to be called in to deal with it. With his lifestyle, we can be pretty sure this is a guy who acquired herpes at some point in his life, with a little third-party evidence there from his bandmates to kind of basically confirm it. So Gene is beyond wealthy, so I've always wondered, does he have access to, quote, cures that the rest of us do not? And I bet he does. So lastly, regarding the spread of herpes and a theory I have as it relates to dating apps. There's a young male friend I have, he's about 26 or 27 years old, who used Tinder all last summer to have almost 10 female sex partners. And he told me all of his stories, which I was fascinated by, but mostly just due to like a morbid curiosity. Here's the thing about these swiping left-right dating apps. There was a study done somewhere, I don't have it, so you'll have to search for it, that pointed out how the dating apps are creating an imbalance in the numbers of women having sex to the number of men. The study showed that women are a lot more selective than men in looking for partners. And to be clear, it's understood by most people that Tinder is specifically a hookup app. So since women are more selective, they are choosing only the most appealing men. Men that very often have the most appeal in general to women, often based on being very handsome and or other qualities, but mostly handsome type faces. But these handsome men, being like the other men and not as selective as women, are therefore able to have a lot more women available to them than the other allegedly less appealing men on the app. So what does this mean? The women on it to get sex, and the stories my friend shared with me suggest there are a lot of women on there having a lot of sex, are having sex with only a small percentage of the men, the most desirable ones. So a small group of men are having sex with large groups of women. And my friend proved this to me firsthand last summer with all of his one-night conquests. Some very interesting stories, perhaps for another time. In P.S., this is a biggie. We now know Lyme is spread by sex. I'll make a video on that soon as well, since I'm convinced Lyme is what is actually responsible for most mystery diseases like fibromyalgia that doctors both can't and won't diagnose correctly. I believe fibromyalgia is also largely due to oxalate in the diet, but I think Lyme is responsible for an awful lot of ailments out there, and it's not being recognized. Thanks so much for watching.